Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. So today we are going to discuss the questions and case scenarios on the audit of NBFC and bank. So whatever we have discussed till previous session, we will be discussing now practical scenarios, questions on those particular topics so that you guys can understand the topic with much more clarity. Now, the thing is that I expect answer from your side. So whatever questions we will be discussing, I would expect that you guys please answer the question. Okay. And I hope you guys have read the chapter. You have, gone through the chapter study material for these two units so that, it would be very much helpful for you guys to understand the topic when we will solve the questions. Okay. Meanwhile, if you have any doubt with respect to any of the point, you can ask in the chat box at any point in time, or you can ask just by directly unmuting yourself and you can speak your doubt. Okay, so there is no restriction on that. Okay, so our today's target is to for the first half is to do practical questions on these topics, and then on the second half we will proceed for the next chapter. So let's start with the practical case scenario.
Sir, can you take this half session later, because your class first, I mean on 17th जो को हुई थी, उसका लेक्चर अगर हमने वापस देखा यूट्यूब पे तो बहुत अटक अटक के आ रहा था, और हमने वो मिस कर दी थी क्लास, तो हम वो सुन नहीं पाए थे। तो या तो वो यूट्यूब पे वापस से अपलोड करवा दीजिए, क्योंकि लास्ट 3 लेक्चर्स में ये क्लास हुई थी, राइट? जो फर्स्ट लेक्चर था वो बहुत ही, उसका जो डबिंग हुई है वो बहुत मतलब क्वालिटी इज नॉट गुड। तो इसीलिए मैं अभी प्रॉपर्ली रेडी नहीं हूँ।
No issues, no issues. Let me see that one. If there is an issue in that particular lecture, I'll get it re-uploaded. No issues in that. But I would suggest what you do is participate in today's question scenarios, and then what will happen is you may not able to get the answers, but still you will get a kind of a revision for the topics that we have discussed. So basically, my questions will be of such nature that you will get a revision of the topics that we have discussed till now. So even though if you are missed out previous sessions, won't be an issue because this will act as a kind of revision for you.
Okay, sir.
So don't worry on that particular part. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But meanwhile, in the backend, I will check for the last session that has been uploaded. Is there any issue on that or what? And accordingly,
नंबर फर्स्ट लेक्चर जो ग्रुप ऑडिट के साथ आपने हाफ सेशन जो ग्रुप ऑडिट का किया था वो 1 hour 46 minutes का टोटल अपलोडेड है। एंड उसमें जो है स्टार्टिंग के 40 minutes 38 minutes समथिंग जो है वो तो ग्रुप ऑडिट पे है। एंड देन ये इस चैप्टर को आपने स्टार्ट किया था, वो पूरी डबिंग उसकी जो हुई है वो खराब हुई है। मतलब आप बोल रहे हैं, समझा रहे हैं नेटो इन फंड का और ये सब चीजें जो आपने बताई थी, कैसे कैलकुलेट करना है, क्या करना है, वो सब कुछ उसमें क्लियर नहीं आ रहा।
Okay. No issues, no issues. Let me see what is the problem with that particular one. What has happened over there?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'll suggest let's participate in this session, particularly on this one, because what will happen is these will again, act as a refresher for you. So don't worry on that particular part. And yeah, majority of the portion for the questions is something from the last lecture or last to last lecture, that where I explained on the NBFCs reporting part, compliance part in much more detail. So first of all, we'll start with the bank audit one. So last session we'll be taking first questions on bank audit, and then we'll go to the NBFC.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I think that will like the last session was correctly uploaded on the portal, or was that also having some issues?
Last session I took live.
Okay.
And
Understood. No issues. Perfectly fine. Okay. And I'll check with that particular that session also. Don't worry. Okay. Let's start the discussion on today's session. Okay. So The question is that during the annual statutory audit of ABC Bank, okay, a significant issue has come to the light within the bank's loan portfolio. A detailed review of large corporate accounts revealed 3 instances where sanctioned loan limits have been substantially exceeded. Company X exceeded limit by 35% outstanding for 120 days. Company Y exceeded limit by 22% outstanding for 105 days. Company Z exceeded limit by 15% outstanding for 95 days. Upon further investigation, it appears that these excesses have occurred without proper authorization or adherence to the bank's internal policies regarding temporary limit increase. Additionally, the credit review committee did not regularly review or address these breaches. Okay. Then, based on the RBI guidelines and prudential norms, analyze the risk and implication of the observed excess limits in the ABC Bank's portfolio, and what recommendations would you provide to mitigate these risks and ensure compliances. Now, first of all, understand what is the question over here. So the question that is asked is about there was some loans, okay, which has been given, and they have exceeded the limit. These are kind of out of order accounts. Now, as per the out of order account discussion that we did yesterday, you need to tell me what is the requirement of RBI prudential norms with respect to these accounts. How should I classify these accounts as per the RBI guidelines and prudential norms? Take a minute, read the question again, and then let me know. So take a minute, read the question, and then think like what should be the classification for these kind of out of order scenarios. Okay, anyone? So what classification should I follow for these accounts?
सर मोर देन 120 days के बाद हम एनपीए क्लासिफाई करते हैं एंड बिफोर ऑल दिस थिंग वी शुड कंसीडर सर सैमी स्टैंडर्ड असेट्स काइंड ऑफ और बिफोर गिविंग ऑफ लोन्स और एडवांसेस बैंक उसकी क्रेडिट वर्थनेस और ये सब चीजें चेक करेगा.
Yes.
और अपना सफिशिएंट मार्जिन बैंक ने कीप करा है कि नहीं करा है, उसके अगेंस्ट कोई भी सिक्योरिटीज, उसने लोन के अगेंस्ट कोई सिक्योरिटीज या सिक्योर है अनसिक्योर है, वो सब चीजें चेक करेंगे.
Okay. Anything else that you would go and check, and how would you classify it then? So you are saying it will be standard asset.
सर 90 days का टेन्योर से ऊपर मतलब 20% एक्सीड लिमिट जो बोलते हैं हम लोग.
Okay, yes. Okay, anyone else with some different answer? Anyone? Okay, no issues. Let me explain here. See, first of all, we need to understand what is the scenario over here. Now, if you see, their loans they were assigned a limit, but they exceeded the limit. Okay. Now, when you see out of order, so that's why I gave you a hint of out of order. Okay, what is out of order accounts, and how and what is the impact of being out of order? So when an account is an out of order situation, okay, that particular account becomes an NPA. So if an account is in an out of order situation, that accounts become an NPA account. Okay, it falls part of an NPA. Now there are other things also, like time limit is there for that, but basically once it is an out of order, it's an NPA. Now how it becomes an out of order account? So if an account balance in a particular CC or OD account remain in excess of the sanction limit for 90 days, okay, so if that remains in excess for 90 days, now here this is an excess 33, 35, 22, 15%. And
सर
if
20% भी तो होता है जैड इन द केस ऑफ जैड exceed limit is only 15%. If the exceed limit is more than 20% and 90 days, then we will consider for NPA and other मतलब things, right?
I will come to that on point. I'll come on that particular point. So what is as of now? First of all, let's understand what is your out of order. Okay. What is your out of order account? So out of order account basically comes into the picture when your limit is in excess of, okay, in excess of your the limit sanction. So your loan is in excess of your limit sanction, and that is beyond 90 days. That is beyond 90 days. So here these are beyond 90 days first of all, and these are in excess. So I'll come on to the percentage part, that okay, whether it's a 20, more than 20%, less than 20%. So I'll come on to that. Okay, but as of now, understand this is first of all out of order because it is in exceed of your loan limit and beyond 90 days. Now coming to the part where I'm talking about NPA. Okay, where I'm talking about becoming an NPA. See, the limit that you are saying 20% was a limit that was earlier, which was there. Now here the limit, that 20% limit is kind of done away with. So if it is in excess of that excess of accounts and beyond 90 days, then it will be counted as an out of order account. And moreover, if you see that there are other conditions which have been added to the out of order account, that is, if the credits in your accounts are not enough to cover the interest which is debited, okay, then in that case, particularly, basically your account still will be considered an out of order. Okay, so that is the case for the out of order accounts. Now the 20% limit that you are talking about, basically, now those limits were there with respect to accounts with the temporary differences. So if there was a temporary deficiency, if there was a temporary deficiency in a particular account, over there I was supposed to check whether it's kind of ad hoc limit is given or not, or whether the limit is going more than 20% or not, or there are other conditions over there. But when there are temporary deficiencies over here, if you see, okay, these have occurred without prior authorization and adherence to the bank's internal policies regarding temporary limit increase. So this is not based on temporary limit increase, okay, without proper authorization and adherence to the bank policies regarding temporary limit increase. As a result, I would still not count this as an standard asset. I will count this account as a non-performing asset. Are you getting the point?
Sir, can you repeat last line again?
Okay. See, the percentage that you are mentioning and the other requirements with respect to drawing power, there is a particular category, accounts with temporary deficiencies. Okay. Accounts with temporary deficiencies. Okay. Now in this particular case, what happens is I can say that this particular asset should not be classified in an NPA because these are accounts with the temporary deficiencies, but there are certain conditions that are required to be fulfilled for that. That is, regular or ad hoc credit limits are required to be reviewed, okay, within a particular time frame, within the period of 3 months. That's a 90 days. Okay. Then there is, there are other conditions also that are required to be fulfilled. For example, over here, like following the bank's internal policies regarding the temporary limit increase. Now, here in this particular scenario, these particular these particular things have not been followed. For example, this access have occurred without proper authorization or adherence to the bank's internal policies regarding temporary limit increase. And that's why I will not call this account as an account with temporary difference. I will call as an out of order account. Okay. And being an out of order, I will call this account as an NPA.
Got it, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt? Okay. So basically, once I identify whether the account is kind of, and non-performing asset or performing asset, accordingly, what is the next step you do? What is the next step that you do? Once your classification of NPA or performing asset is done. Anyone? No? Okay. Once you identify the particular asset as an NPA, you go for a identification of kind of, which category of NPA it is, whether it's a substandard asset, whether it's a doubtful asset, whether it's a loss asset. And accordingly, your provisioning requirement comes into the picture. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now here, if I call these accounts as an NPA, in which category they will go into?
Sir, standard. सर 2026 से पहले तो स्टैंडर्ड होगी, उसके बाद वो चेंज हो जाएगी.
Okay. Anyone else? No? See, the moment I call an account as an NPA, I cannot say that account as an standard asset. Because it is NPA, now it will start falling into the category of substandard asset for the first 12 months. And then from there, it will go to the doubtful assets. So over here, from the day it becomes NPA, that it crosses the 90-day mark, from there to 12 months, it will be substandard asset. Okay. So here they have not crossed. If I deduct 90 days from each of the category, they have not crossed the 12-month mark. As a result, they are still will be called as substandard asset. Clear? Yes, no? No? Any doubt with this? I think you guys did not get the particular classification. I'll repeat once again. So the day when I call an account as an NPA, that account becomes, falls into the category of a substandard asset. It leaves the standard asset category. And then for the first 12 months, it's a substandard asset. And then subsequently, it will go to the doubtful asset and then the loss asset. Okay, so as of now, it is in the category of first 12 months. That's why it will fall under the category of substandard asset. Now, what is the provision requirement for the substandard asset? what was the provision requirement for the substandard asset? Anyone? Okay, Ginny, good. Anyone else? Provisioning requirement for the substandard asset.
So different rates बताई थी, but the standard is 0.4, 0.25, 0.1, and
Okay. Okay, no issues. I'll tell you. So for the standard asset, it was 0.25, 0.75, 0.5 or 5%, 0.4%. Remember, it was for the standard asset. Now, as I said, it falls under the category of substandard asset. I have to see the general provision of 15%. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
There was a 10% additional provision on the unsecured portion, making it to the total 25%. Remember in the last
Yes,
session that we discussed?
yes, sir.
So here in the current scenario, what will happen is this is a substandard asset. So I like as of now, you don't have a detail on the security part. We will go with a 15% provision. Okay, on that particular asset. Now there were different provision, but here we will consider the general 15% provision. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Any doubt? Any doubt?
सर आपने जो एसएमए हमारा कंफ्यूजन इसलिए हो रहा है क्योंकि आपने जो एसएमए 1 और एसएमए 2 का गाइडेंस बताया था, जो आपने एनबीएफसी में बताया था, वो सेम आपने कहा था कि बैंक्स में भी सेम लगता है। तो जब एसएमए 1 और एसएमए 2 में ये क्लासिफिक फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल बियॉन्ड 195 और 105 होते ही हम पहले एसएमए 1 में डालेंगे, एसएमए 2 में डालेंगे, तो उसके बाद हम स्टैंडर्ड सब स्टैंडर्ड ये सब चीजें के प्रोविजंस देखते हैं ना, ये साइमल्टेनियसली दोनों चलते रहते हैं।
I'll explain. Don't worry. See, now understand first of all, I'll explain you how it works. Let's say this is a standard asset. Okay. Now standard asset can be your asset where the loans are paid continuously. There is no issue on that. Standard asset can be where the payments are overdue, means it has been not being paid. Okay. Now, if everything is paid in the standard asset, so basically what will become, it is like, normal regular working asset. So that is a very small portion, the major portion in that. But there are certain loans in the standard asset category itself where, people are yet to pay, or the installment or interest is overdue. Now, for that particular portion, I divide into three categories. The one category is a SMA 0. Second category is your SMA 1, and third category is your SMA 2. Now, how these categories work? How do we calculate these categories? And when it goes from the standard to substandard? Now, basically understand that, okay, let's say this is normal loan, normal category, everything being paid. Now, from the 0th day, this is considered as a 0 day of overdue. 0th day of overdue. That means the payment was due on this particular date, but it was not being paid by the customer. Okay. On this particular day, I will not call this particular asset as in, sorry, I will not call this particular asset as in substandard asset NP or something like that. No, no. On the 0th day, I will not do that. But I will start monitoring this particular asset. Okay. And what I will do is I will do a monitoring based on SMA classification. For the first 30 days, from 0 to 30th day, I would say that this is SMA 1 or SMA 0. From 31st to your 60th, I will call as an SMA 2, and from 60th to a 90th, I would call as an SMA 2 over here. Sorry, it will be 1. Not 2, but 1. Okay. So like this way, I will classify the overdue portion or overdue asset into these categories. Okay. Once it crosses the 90-day mark, it goes into the category of your substandard asset, because now it is NPA. Till this particular whole category, if I talk about, I would classify the asset as an standard asset. Although the classification is there, but still it is a standard asset. But from the 91st day to the next 12 months, from 91st day, now here I will not say 12 months, but I will say next 12 months. That is, I will count this as the first day and next 12 months whenever it gets over. Okay. This particular period, here it will be substandard asset. And it will be known as an NPA. So
Got it. Actually हम कंफ्यूज ये इसलिए हो रहे थे क्योंकि हमें लगा कि 90 के बाद से स्टैंडर्ड स्टार्ट होता है, बिफोर 90 से भी हम लोग बिफोर 90 हम स्टैंडर्ड कंसीडर नहीं कर रहे थे, दैट्स व्हाई हम स्टैंडर्ड और सब स्टैंडर्ड में कंफ्यूज हो रहे थे.
Now I hope it is clear. Like standard is where you have an overdue amount, but it is not NPA. I would still call it standard asset. And this particular asset over here, it is, you can say, kind of performing asset, still classified as a performing one. Once it crosses the 91st day mark, then I say it's a non-performing asset. Any doubt, guys, with respect to this one? Any doubt? Sorry. Okay. If no doubts, pretty much clear. So we discussed that on the substandard asset category, we will call as a 15% provision. General and additional 10% on unsecured. Clear? So that was your with respect to this particular question, where there were 3 loans and basically we were supposed to classify what are the prudential norms, their risk classification, their provisioning requirements. Okay, no issues. Now coming to the next question, pretty much easy. We have discussed this part also. Mr. Akash has been appointed as the auditor of MN branch of ABC Bank Limited for the financial year 23-24. As a part of audit responsibilities, Mr. Akash needs to ensure the branch is compliant with the cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio requirement. What are the specific procedures should Mr. Akash perform to thoroughly verify the branch compliance with these regulations? So, what do you think Mr. Akash should do or verify in order to check whether the branch is compliant with the CRR or SLR requirement? Anyone? We have discussed this part yesterday. I also showed you some, requirements with respect to CRR and SLR. Come on.
Sir, obtain understanding relevant circular of RBI.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or, sir, and request branch auditor to send trial balance on every Friday or fortnightly, whatever the time limit in mention in the RBI regulation.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
or timely examine the position of DTL in the banks.
Okay. Anything else?
और सर बाकी जो बोरोइंग्स है, नेट क्रेडिट बैलेंस है, उसका क्या है, नॉस्ट्रो अकाउंट क्या है, वो सब चीजें जो हैं
Mm-hmm.
उनको भी इंक्लूड करके लाइबिलिटीज जो क्या है बैंक की वो निकालेंगे। एंड अगर कोई ब्रांच के साथ साथ दूसरी ब्रांचेस का भी ऑडिट है तो उसको भी कंसोलिडेट करके बैलेंस शीट बनाएंगे, मतलब उसको प्रिपेयर करके देखेंगे कि कुछ रिलेवेंट है क्या।
Yes.
इंटरेस्ट एक्रू अगर कुछ है बुक में पीरियडिकली तो वो चेक करेंगे। सर बस अब इतना याद है।
Okay. No issues. See how to approach over here. Okay. When I talk about audit approaches and procedures for the CRR and SLR, so I first of all have to cover two aspects. The first portion that I have to cover is the correctness of that compilation of DTL position. See, everything will work based on the DTL position. So first I have to compute the correct DTL position. So if the bank has computed, I need to verify the correctness of that compilation or the computation of the DTL position. Second part that I need to look into is maintenance of liquid asset as specified under section 24 of the RBI Act. Okay. Now, basically what happens is that if I calculate the DTL position, I calculate the CRR, I calculate the SLR, at the end I have to maintain that amount also. It's not like that just the calculation is required to be done. No, after doing the calculation, I have to maintain the amount. Yes or no? So as a result, the second important part comes in that maintenance of that liquid asset. Okay. Now, first of all, coming to the correctness of the computation of the DTL position. Now, if I have to compute the correct DTL position, I have to, examine the regulations which are there. So, examination of regulations will be there issued by RBI or directions issued by RBI. Okay, which may be, excluding certain liabilities, doing arithmetically accuracy test check. Okay, then considering some of the amounts and kind of, they are part of the liabilities only that I have to remove from the DTL calculation. Okay, and then basically, so in a similar way, I have to add some additional liabilities in the DTL calculation. Okay, because these might not be reported, so I have to include those liabilities. So exclusions, inclusions, that based on the regulations and the guidelines, I have to do that. Then on the basis of that, I need to see what is the percentage basically for the calculation of SLR or CRR. Okay, the current rate that is going on. Then I need to see with respect to the data that was submitted to RBI with respect to detailed position. Remember, there were certain returns that we discussed. Can anyone tell me the name of the returns that the bank is required to file? I can, verify the detailed position from them.
LADR,
Hmm?
long form audit report.
No, I'm saying bank has to file for CRR and SLR.
ADF, audited data flow करके कुछ था.
See, ADF is kind of, what you say, it's an automated data flow that's an, portal or the technology that has been adopted by the banks for CRR and SLR reporting, but still there is a form which is submitted to ADR through ADR. Okay, so basically you can say form A for CRR and form 8 for SLR. So these are the two forms of return that are submitted by the banks on a periodic basis where they report the CRR and SLR calculation. Okay, so these are the two very important returns which are submitted by the bank, and we have to verify those things, okay, those returns, in order to understand what is the amount what amount has been reported by the bank. Okay, so once I determine whether the amount that has been reported by the bank is correct, or the calculation we have done matches with the data which is there in the form A and form 8, in that case, it will give me some additional comfort on the calculation of the DTL position. Okay, and then I need to verify whether the maintenance of the liquid asset is being done or not, based on the calculation, based on the DTL positions, rate multiplication. So after that, whether the bank is maintaining those liquid assets as required. Okay, for that I may take up some 12 odd dates or some, which are not falling on reporting Fridays, to verify that particular scenario. So this is how I can audit the CRR and SLR requirements. Clear with this?
Yes, sir.
So I may also, check, see, bank calculate details on the basis of the trial balances, as you said. Now I can go and check the trial balance, how it is extracted, whether it covers all the details or not, whether the calculations arithmetic accuracy is correct, whether the branch is, verifying the correctness of the trial balance. I am verifying, that is another story. Whether the branch is also taking a comfort whether their trial balance are correct or not. Okay, so valuation of the liabilities and assets. So valuation is a very important part when it comes to the calculation of the DTL. And whether the reporting which is done on the Friday, okay, then weekly trial balance on the Friday that has been extracted is appropriate or not. So a lot of things can be there, based can be performed, but this is an overview that how we can perform CRR and SLR related audit procedures. Any doubts?
No, sir.
No? Okay. If no doubts, so basically, if I just show you the answer also, so that we can be on that how to write. See, so obtain understanding of the relevant circulars, request branch auditors to send their weekly trial balance. If you are a central statutory auditor, then you may request branch auditors to send you weekly trial balance. Okay, to verify whether it is appropriate or not, and determine the detailed position on every reporting Friday. Okay, examine on test basis the consolidation regarding detailed positions. examining the computation of the DTL, okay, by excluding the liabilities as per the RBI guidelines if they are required to be done. For example, these are certain liabilities which are required to be excluded from the DTL calculation. Then similarly, you need to examine that there are certain liabilities which are required to be included as per the RBI guidelines. So whether these particular liabilities have been included or not. So net credit balances, borrowings from abroad by banks, reconciliation of nostro accounts. Okay, so these are required to be added. Then whether the consolidated prepared by the bank include relevant informations or not. Okay. Then auditor should apply the procedure listed above to verify. Plus, they should verify the written, okay, which is submitted to automated data flow for the CRR and SLR reporting. The returns that I showed you, that is Form 8 and Form A. Okay. So this is how you are required to answer the question, and actually you are required to audit for the CRR and SLR.
सर इस क्वेश्चन में मुझे 10 में से 5 नंबर मिलेंगे.
See, it's I would say don't focus on that particular point, but as of now I would say just try to see that, okay, how we can learn further on this. See, you need reading, you need time, you need practice to gain the comfort on the chapter. That is perfectly fine. Okay. As of now, you may need to reread once, you need to practice some more questions, but at the end, after doing practice, I'm sure that you will be getting a good command over the chapter, even the subject. So it's not that much difficult if you understand logically why the things are done. Apart from the say, okay, this is written in the regulation of guideline, these are required to be added or these are required to be reduced. There is a logic behind that also, but as of now it will be too much for you to understand with respect to in depth, like why it has been mentioned in the regulation or the guidelines that this is required to be removed. But apart from that, as an auditor, what we are required to do, if you see something on a general level, okay, you will find, okay, this is logical, because in other areas also we do the same. We verify the things, we verify the calculations, we verify the data, we check the source from where the data has came. We see whether company has submitted some calculations somewhere else. If we can recheck or re-verify this, the calculations done by the company. Similar concepts are applied over here. So examination, test-based examination, recalculation, recomputations, verifications from different sources, to have more corroborative audit evidence. These are the things that we are performing.
Yes, sir.
We'll get the command, don't worry on that. Okay. So that was with respect to CRR and SLR. Any doubt with this? Any doubt? No? Okay. No, if no doubt, let's proceed to the next question. Again, interesting one. So the question is, during the annual audit of XYZ Bank, a prominent private sector bank in India, the audit team has been assigned to assess the bank's loan portfolio. A preliminary review of the portfolio has revealed several potential concerns, including a significant increase in the non-performing asset, a concentration of loans in specific sector, an instance of loan disbursement without proper documentation. Given the potential risk identified in the XYZ Bank's loan portfolio, outline the detailed audit procedures you would perform to assess the quality of the loan portfolio and ensure compliance with the regulatory guidelines such as RBI prudential norms for asset classification, provisioning, and income recognition, and identify any potential areas of concern. Basically, what you are required to report over here is, or what you are required to answer over here is, what you would do if you would identify, okay, that there is some concern with the loan portfolio. So how will you audit the loan portfolio of a bank? What things you would do? Basically, For example, if you have to audit tomorrow loans and advances of a bank, basically loan portfolio, then what steps would you do? And how will you check that the bank, with respect to loans and advances, it is following the relevant norms? So you need to specify the norms also. So in your answer, you need to specify what procedures you will do and what are the norms that the bank has to comply with respect to loans and advances. Now, advances is something, the asset that is I'm talking about, the bank is giving loan to customers. Take a minute, read again, and then try to answer. Okay. So what do you think? What should be done here? How should we audit the loan portfolio or advances?
सर सेम आंसर होगा ना जो हमने फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में डिस्क्राइब किया था लोन्स के रिगार्डिंग में, कि हम पहले लोन देंगे तो हम ये देखेंगे कि वो लोन जो है उसको क्रेडिट वर्थिनेस के अकॉर्डिंग, बोरोवर के क्रेडिट वर्थिनेस के अकॉर्डिंग, और आफ्टर ऑब्टेनिंग सैंक्शनिंग के मतलब फ्रॉम द बैंक के हिसाब से हुआ है नहीं हुआ है, या फिर जो है कि मतलब सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स दिए नहीं दिए, उन डॉक्यूमेंट्स को प्रॉपरली स्क्रूटनी हुई है नहीं हुई है, और वो जो चीजें हैं जॉइंट कस्टडी में है नहीं है हमारी ऑफिसर्स के उसके उसके बाद हम ये देखेंगे कि क्या कहते हैं, जो भी सिक्योरिटीज रजिस्टर्ड हुई हैं वो बैंक के नेम पे है कि नहीं है, और ड्राइंग पावर जो हमने 20% और 90 डेज का टेन्योर वाली बात करी थी वो सेम इसमें भी लग जाएगा, और ये
Yes,
प्रॉपरली रिव्यू हो रहे हैं कि विद इन अ ईयर प्रॉपरली ये सब रिव्यू हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है, ये सारे पॉइंट्स इसमें आ जाएंगे वापस से। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन वाला ही आंसर इतना तो शायद मेरे सबसे रिपीट हो जाएगा।
correct. Okay, good. Excellent, Manish. Very good. Yes, Jeannie. Very good. See, whenever we are answering a question with respect to, this particular part, when we are required to do an audit, always think of the basics. Forget about the bank as of now. Okay, forget about the bank. Let's say you are auditing uh, sales of a particular company. What you would do? Simple question. If you were to summarize in just 2-3 sentences, how would you?
From Harshad PC.
The risk assessment procedure as per 300 as a 300 or 315, or response to the risk according to ऐसे 330, और सर फर्दर जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन वगैरह जो भी सारे ऐसे के लगते हैं, सारे जो भी हमने कम्युनिकेशन करना है और जो गैप डिटेक्ट हुआ है उसको मैनेजमेंट से या फिर TWC से जो के हमें मिटिगेट करना है, वो सब चीजें हम जो नॉर्मल ऑडिट प्रोसीजर है वो सारे के सारे इधर बैंक ऑडिट में भी एप्लीकेबल हो जाएंगे।
Absolutely correct. So I have to divide my audit procedures, basically you can say, into 2 to 3 categories. The first category is the evaluation of the internal controls, policies, and understanding the business, so that I can do a good risk assessment with respect to the loans and advances process. Loans and advances are not something different where I'll not do the risk assessment procedures. They are the similar ones that it's again a business process. Okay, so I have to follow the similar concepts over here also. So what I will do basically, I will divide my audit procedures in 2 categories or 3 categories. I'll come to that. First one is your evaluation of the internal controls. Evaluation of internal controls. This includes your understanding the entity. Because till the time you do not understand the entity, you cannot evaluate the internal controls. That is for sure. Now, what I will evaluate, see, whatever you said, like, documentation, whether loans appraisals have been done or not, everything, I will come and I will say whether the management is doing that or not. I will check, that is secondary thing. That will form part of the substantive procedures. Okay. That will form part of substantive audit procedures. But first of all, what management is doing, that I need to understand. Or whether the bank is doing, I need to understand. So I need to see what is the procedure for the credit appraisal. Okay. Then what are the policies laid down for that? How the credit worthiness of the borrowers is decided. Okay. So credit worthiness, basically that is very, very important, because based on the credit worthiness, the loans are then given, the limits are decided. So how the credit worthiness of borrowers is decided, what is the policy being followed to decide the credit worthiness? Do the borrowers require kind of certification from third party? Sorry, do the borrowers require a kind of certification from the third party, basically? For example, let's say, some credit rating agencies to establish their credit worthiness, or the bank has to do their in-house credit worthiness examination. Okay. Then what is the delegation of authority to provide the advances? For example, let's say tomorrow I decide, this particular customer has a good credit worthiness. That means I can lend 100 CR of loan. But who will approve that loan? Can branch manager approve just 100 or 1000 CR of loan? Or it requires some higher authorities approval? So what is the delegation of authority over here involved in this particular category? Okay, who approves what? What is the limit of approval? Documentation, whether documentation is collected by the bank, who reviews the documentation before dispersal? Is there a policy behind that? Is there a control behind that, the documentation review? So documentation review, how bank does that documentation review? I'm not talking about my documentation review. I'm talking about how bank is satisfied that they have all the documents before they disburse the loans. Then there are conditions to the loans. Who is checking whether the conditions have been fulfilled or not? For example, sometimes, let's say for the CC and OD, the borrower has to provide, statements, stock statements, or data statements, or a statement for the current asset. Sometimes they have to provide the audited or certified statements. So there are conditions attached to the disbursement of the loans, or to the sanction conditions, like, okay, based on these terms and conditions, we are sanctioning the loan to you, but you have to provide these documents before disbursal, or you have to fulfill these things before disbursal. So who ensures compliance with those conditions? Then comes the like continuous evaluation of the loan or the advance. Basically, when I say continuous evaluation comes in the two different parts. Number one, payments as per the schedule. Whether the payment is being done as per the schedule. Number two, very, very critical, that is a very concerned area. Valuation of securities. Sometimes, the securities that are provided, their valuation change. Sometimes they, there is a diminution in their valuation. Sometimes, securities are no longer, in a nature where I can, recover any amount from that. For example, in collateral, the company pledged the shares of a particular, their holding company or something like that, or their subsidiary company, or their or shares of their own company. So as a security, I was having shares of that particular company as a like if the company will not pay the loan, I'll use or share or sell that particular shares of the company. Now tomorrow, if the shares doesn't have the value, then what? Properties also change the value. Okay, so for example, I earlier gave a loan as a bank. I gave a loan of 100 CR. Someone submitted, this is a property, this is a commercial property, very good value. Okay, more than 150 CR worth of commercial property. You take it as a security, fine. But later on, there was something issue with that property. Title deeds were not clear. There was some rainwater related, a lot of issues can be there with respect to municipal corporation and XYZ reasons. The value declined from the 150 CR to 90 CR or 80 CR. In that case, who is tracking about the valuation of securities? Okay. Then comes the renewals. Sometimes, renewal is required for the OD or CC limit, or sometimes, renewal is required on a periodic basis for certain kind of loans. So who is looking for the renewals and what is the procedure for the renewals? Okay. And who verifies whether the loan is required to be renewed or not? And then compliance with regulations, including prudential norms, sectorial regulations, sector specific loans, MSME related loans, fixed rate, floating rate related, compliances. So a lot of things are there. So who is ensuring whether the loans are in compliance with the regulations? That I'm talking about the bank. From the bank, who is verifying that? Now I'll come to the substantive audit procedure. For each of the area, I will go and check myself whether this was performed or not. For example, credit appraisal. Might take 10 samples and check whether the credit appraisal was done appropriately, whether the credit worthiness was checked appropriately, whether the delegation of authority has been followed, whether the documentation was reviewed before disbursal, whether the conditions were complied before the disbursal, payment is being done appropriately, valuation of the securities, whether the renewal was done as per the policy is appropriate or not, whether the regulation is being complied or not. This everything I will do once I will go to the substantive audit procedures. But before that, I need to have an understanding of the entity. And based on this, let's say for example, there is no documentation review before disbursal of loan. I may call this particular as the high risk area. I may say there is a risk of material misstatement over there. High risk of material misstatement. Or let's say compliance renewals. So there is no proper process around renewals. I may say, okay, there is a risk of material misstatement over here. And accordingly, I might not test 10 samples. I may take 20 or 30 samples to test. So based on this, my audit procedures will be, decided that what I need to do. Understanding of the internal controls and then substantive audit procedures. Over and above that, there is a third part to this. This is about the loans and advances which are given. Perfectly fine. They are working good. Very good. What about NPAs? NPAs are also your loans and advances that were given, but they are, as of now, not recoverable, or they are not performing basically. So I would check the bank's policy on NPA, collection, who is doing the collection or who is trying to do the collection at least. Okay. Review, who is reviewing about the NPA, how much NPA is being generated, what is the total exposure, is the the exposure is going to increase or is increasing compared to the last period, everything. Like who is reviewing the NPA, position of the NPA in the bank. Okay. And then on the basis of that, I will again perform the substantive procedures, which may include that, okay, I may go and check the whether the bank policies were followed appropriately or not, whether the collection is being done timely, whether the review is being done timely, okay, whether the compliance with the regulation with respect to NPA is being done or not. So all these things I'll check, and accordingly I will conclude whether is there any requirement for qualification, or is there any requirement for modification. So this is how I have to audit the bank's loan portfolio. Any doubt with respect to this one? Any doubt? Yes, no? So did you guys understand how I have to perform the audit of a bank's loan portfolio? Okay. If no doubt, that was pretty much the way that we do in a normal audit also, that I do the understanding of the entity, I do understand the internal controls, I identify the risk of material misstatement, and then I go for the substantive audit procedures. Manish, can you specifically provide the reference where it is mentioned, so that I can read the whole sentence and then provide you the meaning of that. If you just can give me the page number where it is, I can at least check. Mortality accounts, okay, which is on, I think, your page number 14.33. Okay. Now, mortality accounts is a term that is used for the NPA, kind of, which are dead. You are not going to recover any money from that. So that is a mortality accounts, like which are classified as an NPA, or which are, dying kind of thing. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt with respect to any of the point? No? No doubts? Okay. If no doubts, can we take up next question? Let's go to the next question. Mr. Amit was entrusted with the audit of Element Bank's NPA account. During the audit, Mr. Amit identified that the outstanding balance on the CC given to X Limited, okay, the customer of the bank, was not classified as an NPA account even when the outstanding amount exceeded the drawing power. During the FY 23-24, the credits in the CC accounts were sufficient to cover the interest on debited. On inquiry with the bank, management informed Mr. Amit that the non-availability of the drawing power is due to non-availability of the latest stock statement. Mr. Amit, not satisfied with the explanation of the management, wishes to qualify the report on the account of incorrect classification of advance as per the prudential norms on the income recognition, asset classification, and the provisioning pertaining to the advance issued by the RBI. Okay. Kindly guide Amit with respect to the requirement enumerated in the same direction issued by RBI. Take a minute, read the question again, and then let me know what should be the correct, classification that should be followed, and who is correct in this particular scenario. So go through this and let me know. Okay, so tell me, what do you think? What should be the correct classification in this particular scenario? We have discussed this point. Come on, guys. What should be the correct classification over here? Okay, I'll tell you. Here, basically, am I audible to you guys? It just calls me message and I'm not audible. Am I audible to you guys? Okay, good. No issues. That's great then. Okay, basically, what happens? Okay, basically, here, if you see, there are certain things that we need to understand. Number one, here, bank has not classified this as an NPA account. Okay. Number two, outstanding amount exceeded the drawing power. Number three, this was because of the non-availability of the latest stock statement. Okay, so first I will focus on these 3 points. Again, I will go back to the prudential norms. Now, as per the prudential norms, what I need to do is I need to first understand what is the requirement for classification of a particular CC and OD account into a NPA account. And again, I will take a reference of here the account with the temporary deficiencies and out of order. Okay, account with temporary deficiencies. Now, what is this particular account with temporary deficiencies classification is, or what is required to be looked into that? See, there could be a scenario where you might say, okay, these accounts are there, we have not received the payments on these accounts, but do not classify as an NPA because there is some deficiencies XYZ, because of XYZ, then so there is a genuine reason attached to that particular non-payment, or there is something different kind of thing where the reason is attached to that. Now, how to identify? Basically, the prudential norms has given the list where I can say, okay, these are the accounts with the temporary deficiencies, then still I'm fine with the classification. So basically, over there, what is the scenario? That for the CC and OD, where the balance exceed the limit which is assigned to that particular account, and it is due to non-submission of the stock statements or non-renewal of the limits, and because of that it has exceeded the drawing power. Now in CC and OD account, what happens is your limit is calculated frequently or on a particular periodic basis based on your stock statements, based on your the statements, current asset statements that you are required to submit. Okay, now if someone has not submitted the statement and they have used the amount in excess of the drawing power, in that case we still may call that as a temporary deficiency, because the statements are yet to be submitted where I will recalculate the drawing power of that particular account. Okay, now in that case there is a time limit given. That 90-day time limit I have to follow. I cannot say that for a 1 year they did not submit the stock statement, I'm fine with that and account is in still standard. No, that should not be the case. So banks have to ensure that basically the drawing power which is there, okay, is supposed to be arrived on the stock statement, and they should get the stock statement within the 3 months itself. It should not be more than 3 months. If I say, for example, I got the last stock statement 6 months before, I cannot accept that particular, what do you say, the bank's contention that, okay, last calculation was done 6 months ago. Okay, because the guideline says that you have to calculate within the 3 months, every 3 months kind of thing. And if I don't do that, I can say that, okay, this is an non-performing asset. So I still am given 3 months time period to verify whether, the amount which is utilized, which is in excess of drawing power, is perfectly fine based on the stock statement, based on the revised drawing power limit, or it is not fine. Number two, sometimes what happens is there are ad hoc limits granted. Before you can grant a final limit, before you can, give the proper calculation and give a proper limit to a borrower, you give a ad hoc limit. And sometimes they give ad hoc limit increase based on some specific requirement, based on some specific case scenario, ad hoc sanctions of the limit happens. Now, again, in that case also, okay, we have to see what is when the ad hoc limit was given, when it was last reviewed. It should not be the case that for the ad hoc limits, once I'm given, I'll not check for the year. No, there is also a time limit. There's a time limit for 180 days in ad hoc limits. Okay, ad hoc limits kind of, that there the limit was given without any calculation and the calculation is pending. But that calculation has to be done within 180 days. Otherwise, that will also get that account also will be classified as an NPA. Okay. Now, in this particular case, what is happening is stock statement is not available. Number one. Okay. And this account is not classified as an NPA, even though the amount outstanding is beyond, or that has been, more than the drawing power. First of all, we need to understand what is the time period over here that has been considered, or the stock statement has not been received. Here in this particular question, that is not provided, but generally within 3 months that have to be this is required to be calculated. But there is one more thing given in this question, that is the credit in the CC account was sufficient to cover the interest debited. Although the outstanding amount exceeded the drawing power, the credits in the CC account were sufficient. Now, if the stock statement was not available, I would have called this account as an out of order. But there is an exception given to the out of order. The exception is that if the outstanding balance in the CC and OD account is, more than, but I am having enough credit for the 90 days to cover the interest debited onto that account, I may still not call that account as an NPA, because as of now the interest is being being paid. That's why I do have a credit in the account. So that is one of the criteria for the out of order. Okay. In this particular scenario, they have the credit in the CC account, but they don't have, like, what is the period of the non-availability of the stock statement. So in that case, I would say this is an NPA account because I don't have the period. If it is more than 3 months, then I will not check even the credit also. So I can only check credit for the 90 days, but I cannot go beyond that. So 90 days is a cutoff limit for me. So here I would say this particular case is an NPA. Exceeding the limit for more than 90 days, NPA. If I assume exceeding the limit for more than 90 days, I would classify this account as an NPA. But if I say this is exceeding the limit but less than 90, I can still say that this account falls under the category of accounts with temporary deficiencies. And I still be, waiting for it to classify as an NPA. So I'll not classify as an NPA, not NPA. Clear with this? So how would I classify a account where the stock statement is not available? So there are two things: one account with the temporary deficiencies, and where an account with an out of order status. More than 90 days, out of order, I will not see anything. It's an NPA. Less than 90 days, again I have to see with respect to the CC and OD. I can say this is an account with a temporary difference. I will still not count as an NPA because it's a temporary difference. So there's a time period given for the 90 days to get the stock statement, recalculate the drawing power, and if that is exceeding the drawing power, then you need to take the decision. Clear? Any doubt with this? Any doubt? Okay. If no doubts, let's modify this question and change it a bit. Let's say, so what is the company? Mr. Amit and Element Bank. Okay, X Limited. So the X Limited was not able to have enough credit in CC/OD account. Okay, was not able to have enough credit in CC/OD account. Okay, uh, enough to cover the interest debited during the previous 90 days. So let's say 90 days have passed, but they don't have enough credit to cover the interest that have been debited. Okay. And the outstanding amount is less than sanction limit / drawing power. Now, how would you classify this as this account? So how would what classification would you provide to this particular account? First, I'm saying not able to have enough credit. So they don't have the enough credit. But on the other hand, I'm saying that the outstanding amount is less than the sanction limit. What classification would you provide to this particular account? Come on, guys. Anyone? It will become out of order. So we'll consider it an NPA. Yes, Ginny, very good. Yes, it will become out of order. And we will consider this as an NPA. Even though my outstanding amount is less than the sanction limit, I would consider this as an out of order account because I was not having enough credit to cover the interest. Basically, in other terms, interest has not been paid for the 90 days. See, let's say interest debited was 1 lakh rupees. The credits are only 50,000. So there is still overdue 50,000 in the account in the name of interest. CCOD principal separate thing, but the person is not able to pay, or the X Limited is not able to pay the interest. In normal case, if someone doesn't pay you the interest or principal as a bank for 90 days, what you will do after 90 days, you will classify as an NPA. Same I'm doing here because they were not able to pay the interest for the period of 90 days. I classified that account as an out of order and an NPA. Clear with this? So I'm classifying this account as an out of order because the interest that was charged to CC or OD account was not paid. That means, or in the other words, if I say credits were not enough in the account to cover the interest amount for the period of 90 days. So we will consider it an NPA. Clear? Any doubt with respect to this one? Any doubt, guys? See, it is important for you to understand, how we are doing the classification or how it is being done. The application of the provision. Okay. If no further doubts, uh, let's take one more question and then we will proceed for the break. Let's take one more question. So I will just keep it over here. Just a minute. Let me open the question. It's one of the question which is there in the exam. Okay. Let's see this particular question. Okay. Core Limited submitted a credit proposal to XYZ Bank for Bank Limited for sanction of a term loan of 150 crores required for procuring and installing a related plant and machinery for their upcoming project. Based on the application of XYZ Bank Limited approach to CAP, investigate the profitability of the business for judging the accuracy of the schedule of repayment furnished by the Core Limited, as well as the value of security in the form of asset of the business already possessed and those which will be created out of the loan. Provide the steps that should be undertaken by CAP. Again, that is a kind of related to the audit of banks, but it is more on the investigation side. This question is kind of more on the investigation side, where you are investigating the profitability. So no doubt, no problem if you not able to answer it. But let's try. I would suggest try to answer this question. So how would you perform this particular investigation? It was something related to the bank. That's why I brought here to discuss. Anyone? Okay.
सर 3 year लोन्स की बैलेंस शीट मतलब आई मीन बैंक रिक्वायर्ड करेगा कि वो भी किसी चार्टेड अकाउंटेंट से वेरीफाई करवा के लेके आओ, मतलब लिमिट भी इस तरह से चेक करवाई जाएगी उसकी। और
Okay. See, why I brought this particular question here is the reason because to make you understand the other side also. See, when we are doing bank audit, okay, at that time we might be investigating, we might not investigating, we might be auditing, the loans and advances that has been provided by the banks. Over there, you will see the repayment schedules. Over there, you will see the documentation behind the loans. Same over here. If the bank here wants to give a loan to a particular person, okay, then as an auditor, what documentation we are required to see? Like, let's say bank has obtained the documentation. Whether that documentation is correct or not, that kind of understanding we can get it from here. So basically, to investigate over here that like profitability of the business, and accuracy of the repayment schedule that is being there, and security that is being there. What auditor can do? First of all, you can go through the statement of profit and loss account that is prepared for the 5 years. See here, for the loan, most of the times the borrower provides the 5 year profit and loss statement or financial statements showing the income, expense, profits, their balance sheet, state of affairs, everything for the 5 years to the bank. On the basis of which bank analyze, okay, whether I can give the funds to them or not. So you can analyze that, statement of profit and loss account for the 5 years. Okay. Second thing, you can compute various ratios to understand whether that particular company or the borrower is sound in terms of the financial position or not. Okay, you can do ratio analysis, and even in the banks also, before providing the loan, bank do a lot of ratio analysis to understand that whether the borrower is having that credit worthiness or not. Sometimes you have project financing, so they do cash flow, discounted cash flow. They do a lot of things to understand whether to give the loan or not, and those things we verify as an auditor when we go and pick up that sample for the testing purpose, that whether the bank has in actual verified those things or not. So this is how something as an as an auditor we can see. And the same way as an investigator also, in the case of investigation for the profitability of the business, we have to do the same thing, but investigation might be much more detailed. Auditing is based on the risk based approach. Here I will be auditing based on my risk assessment. That's the only difference.
Sir, one more question.
Hmm.
सर सर 3 इयर्स की बैलेंस शीट एंड पीएनएल रिक्वायर्ड होते हैं ना, 5 इयर्स के नहीं होते ना? क्योंकि मैंने खुद ने 3 इयर्स के बना के दिए क्लाइंट को.
It is not like that 3 years or 5 years. Each and every bank has their different policies for different type of loans. So they might require 3 years, perfectly fine. Some might require 5 years. And also it depends
ओके
upon
सर.
amount of loan. Even in some cases, trust me, they even don't bother about the 5 years or 3 years, because the loan amount is something not that much big, and that is given to MSME or some specific category loan. Okay, let's say for example agriculture loan, crop season based, so they might not require balance sheet. But if it's that is very big project loan, they might even go for 5 years plus collateral and a lot of things.
ओके सर.
Any doubt with respect to this question? I just brought here to under make you understand. Okay, although it is related to the investigation, we will see ahead also this question. But on the similar side, if we have to audit a particular loan, okay, term loan given by bank, how will we will do that? Okay, if no further doubts, what I propose is let's take a quick 10-minute break. After the break, I just want to cover a few questions on the NBFC, and then we can start the next chapter. Okay, so we'll cover few questions on the NBFC after the break, and then we'll start the next chapter. Let's start. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. let's continue the session. So we will now take up one question on the NBFC audit. Okay. So let's see this one. Your firm has recently appointed as an auditor of ABC Finance Private Limited, a company engaged in various financial activities like leasing, lending, investments. During the initial review, you noted that the ABC Finance holds a substantial portfolio of equity shares and real estate properties alongside its whole financial operation. The management claims that they are not an NBFC and therefore they do not require the registration with RBI. The company's asset, the company's latest audit balance sheet reveals the following figure. Total asset, net of intangible, 500, let's say in crores, it is there. Okay. Financial asset, 280 crores. Gross income, 120 crores. Income from financial asset, 75 crores. Based on the RBI's principal business criteria and your understanding of the NBFC regulation, how would you assess whether the ABC Private Limited meets the definition of NBFC? Detail the specific calculation involved and the potential implication of audit if ABC Finance is determined to be NBFC. Now here you need to check whether this particular entity is an NBFC or not based on its principal business criteria. So
50-50.
Yes.
50-50.
Yes. So whether it's an NBFC or not.
Sir, it is the NBFC. Because 75%, 75 divided by 120 करूंगी तब भी 50 आ रहा है and 280 divided by 500 करूंगी तब भी more than 50% आ रहा है.
Okay. So okay, just one question. Is it or and when it comes to the 50-50?
Sir, and.
Okay, that's correct. Basically, I need to check whether the financial assets, the income, both are complying the 50% criteria. That's the 50-50. Okay, that the financial asset should be more than 50% of the total asset net of intangible. Okay, and the income from financial asset should be more than the 50% of the gross income. Here, the financial asset are 280 by 500, that is near to 56.25%. Okay, 56.25% near to that based on the calculation, and gross income is 120, but your income from financial asset is 75, then it is going to 55%. Okay, so here you are meeting the 50-50 criteria, hence it falls under the category of NBFC. Now the second question arises. This is NBFC. What next? What next is required to be done? Anyone? Yes, Jenny, very good. So once I say this particular company is an NBFC, it is required to get COR, certificate of registration, as per which section?
45 I guess.
45 IA of the RBI Act?
Yes.
It is required to maintain what? NOF? What is the amount of NOF?
10 crore or 2 crore for 3 NBFC, except 3.
Yes. So as of now, see, it is not falling any category. It is just, normal NBFCs. I would write 2 CR. Okay. But for those 3, it is the glide path is there. Okay. So they are required to maintain NOF of 2 CR. But again, if you see, they already have a total asset of 500 CR. So I would say, assume that they would be able to meet the 2 CR NOF because their income is only 75 CR from financial asset. That will not be an issue. Okay. Then the next point comes is that, okay, this is certificate of registration, NOF, 2 CR, perfectly fine. And then you need to, as an auditor, we would require to check whether the NBFC regulations were followed or not. So once we decide, okay, now this company is an NBFC, they need to obtain certificate of registration, they need to maintain NOF. Next part is a reporting part. Now tell me, what are the reporting implications? Let's assume they were not having, see, management claims that they are not NBFC and therefore do not require registration, means they never obtained any registration till date. Okay, but we identified this is an NBFC. Now, what is the reporting requirement as per the NBFC? Where you will report that, okay, the certificate of registration is not there. So you need to specify the reporting places where you will mention this. Anyone? So where you will mention that, okay, the company does not have a certificate of registration. We have discussed this particular part in the last session. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So we discussed about the reporting requirements in case of an NBFC. There is a specific report that has been that is issued to the board of directors of the company. There were categories in that report, ABC categories. Are you getting something of that particular lecture? Okay, I would take you to that regulation itself so that we can discuss. Wait. Remember this reporting requirement under the I told you that there are three categories. Category A, which is basically on the certificate of registration, whether the NBFC is doing or conducting the non-banking financial activity without a valid of certificate of registration. Now here this reporting will come into place because management was not having any certificate of registration. So I need to say, okay, yes, management that it was an NBFC, but it never obtained the certificate of registration. So company is engaged into the business of non-banking financial institution as defined in 45 I, A, C or F, but they don't have and meet the principal business criteria, but they have not obtained the certificate of registration. So accordingly, I will report in category A. Now, if it is, accepting public deposit, then B will be applicable. But here, first of all, they have not obtained certificate of registration. I will report over here in category A that they have not obtained certificate of registration. Clear with this? Yes or no? Where else you would report this particular point? Apart from reporting over here, there is one more place I would report. Can anyone tell me that? Apart from reporting in this report, there is one more. Very good, Monica. Can you specify this, the specific that place that you are referring to? Okay. Yes, Jenny, very good. Any specific area in that where you are required to report? Come on, guys. There is one more area. For those who are not still specified that. Okay, Jenny, good. Okay, now first question comes is, so as you guys are correct, there is a reporting requirement in the CARO. Now the first question is, is this particular company, the company in the question, to that particular company, is CARO applicable? Now, first of all, we saw the reporting done by the auditor, NBFC reporting. To BOD in category A. Okay. Now, second reporting I'm talking
Sir,
about
point
CARO.
16 में भी sir point 16 में भी report करेगा CARO
But
के
my
point.
first question is whether CARO is applicable to this company.
Sir, yes applicable होगा क्योंकि इसने 45 IA में रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया RBI के.
45 IE में
Registration NBFC registered in the 45 certificate of registration in the 45 IA of RBI Act.
Okay, so what are the exemptions for the CARO? Like which companies are exempt in CARO?
Sir, BIO as or 8 मतलब banking, insurance, one company and small company or 8 section 8 company.
This is not in bank, not in insurance, not in OPC, because if you see ABC Finance Private Limited, small company there, whether this is a small company.
No, sir.
How can you say that it is not a small company? What are the conditions for the small company? Can anyone tell me? Conditions for the small company. The conditions for the small company are under section 285 that are divided into two categories: paid up share capital and turnover. That is 4 crores and 40 crores. Now the turnover is not matching. That is for sure. I don't have that much turnover. Okay. That is pretty much sure that my turnover exceeds 40 crores because total income is 120 crores over here. That is fine. But I don't have the paid up share capital detail. Can I say that it can be a small company because I don't have a paid up share capital detail? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
If you say that, then it is wrong. Reason because this is plus. Means I have to satisfy both conditions to get the small company exemption. I'm not satisfying the condition of the turnover. Then it doesn't matter whether I have that paid up share capital or not. Let's say paid up share capital is 1 crores, but I still don't satisfy the turnover condition. No small company exemption available. So it doesn't matter about the paid up share
small
capital.
company is 10 and 100 crore होता है ना exemption. I mean 10 paid up capital is 10 and turnover is 100 crore. I think I guess
No.
the limit is okay. Sorry for
Section 285, and there is a notification where it has been specified that 440 is there. Paid up share capital 4 and turnover 40. So the maximum limit which is given in the section, if you read section 285, there is a maximum limit is given. But in the section itself, it says that or any other amount as may be notified. So that notified amount is 440. Apart from that, there is one more exemption. Private limited exemption.
Yes, sir.
So what is that private limited exemption?
Sir, paid up share capital, we should check 1 crore limit and borrowings also 1 crore limit and turnover it is turnover. Sir, 110 में confusion हो रही है.
See, just go on
10
the
crore.
If paid up share capital is 1, I will not jump revenue to 100 crore directly.
Yes.
It's just 1 0 ahead, that is a 10 crores. But
Yes.
again, I have to satisfy all the three conditions together.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not satisfying the condition of revenue. Yes or no? In this scenario, that means this is not a private limited company. So this company cannot, enjoy the exemption of private limited company. So not BIOS 8, not private limited means CARO applicable. CARO applicable. So this company was So CARO reporting is applicable. Now this company auditor is required to report under CARO in a specific clause about the registration certificate. Okay, and that clause is your clause 16. Okay, so clause 16, para 3, clause 6, para 3, clause 16, where auditor has to report whether the company is registered under section 45 IA or not, or if so, whether the registration has been obtained or not. So first, whether required to get registered. Second, whether obtained the registration. So here only I would say in point A that company was required to register, but they have not obtained the registration. Second point was whether they are conducting activity of non-banking financial company without a valid certificate of registration. I would say yes, they are doing that. In B, I would talk about conducting activity without COR. In A, I would say COR required and they have not obtained. C is basically applicable to a core investment company, and here no information is given. I would say this is not a core investment company. And D is also related to the core investment company, Group CLC. So these two will not be applicable. That is because they are applicable to a CIC. CIC not applicable. But I will issue a qualified remark for these two para. That is these two clause. Para 3, clause 16A and B. Yes or no? So when I talk about potential implications, these could be the potential implications of not obtaining certificate of registration. Again, it can become qualification because there are chances that they might end up paying penalties, provision for the penalties. A lot of things are there. Okay, a lot of things are there, but these are the potential, you can say, implications of not obtaining COR. Any doubt with this? Any doubt from where I'm doing the reporting, what is being done? Also, never forget about, see, when I talk about reporting, it's not only to the general, members of the company, it is to the board of directors, it is to those charged with governance. So we should not forget about SA 260 and 265 when it comes to the communication to those charged with governance. 265 talks about basically, significant deficiencies in the internal control. So if a company has a control to identify whether they are in compliance with laws and regulations or not, at that point in time, I may say, yes, there is a deficiency in that particular control because that control did not operate effectively and the control was not able to identify that they require the certificate of registration. Again, comes into the play my SA 250, considerations of laws and regulations in an audit of company, that how I'm required to check for the compliance with the laws and regulations. Clear? Yes, no? Okay, good. So, if no doubts, can we take up one more question on this particular part? Okay, let's take one more question on this. Yeah, good question. This is a question. Okay. Your firm is conducting audit of PQR Housing Finance Limited, and NBFC specializing in housing loans. During your review, you notice that the company has been classifying loans as a non-performing asset only after they are overdue by 180 days. As per their existing policy, However, you are aware that the RBI has recently revised the NPA norms, NPA recognition norms for certain NBFCs. The company loan portfolio data shows loan overdue 90 to 180 days 50 crores, loan overdue by more than 180 days 20 crores. Considering the revised RBI's revised NPA classification norms and the provided glide path, determine whether the PQR Housing Finance current NPA classification policy is in compliant or not. So you need to comment on the NPA classification policy of the company. Okay, so what do you think that whether this policy is in compliance or not? Come on, guys. What was the requirement for the NPA under NBFC? Trust me, that was not that much difficult. We have discussed it. Same. Anyone? NPA classification requirement under NBFC? No?
Sir,
Hmm?
here the PQR Housing Finance Limited should uh, uh, should
Hmm.
classify NPA as per the glide path, which required that uh, bef
You're correct, yes.
the not directly 180 days, but it requires to classify as up to 31st March 2024. It was 158th day, and up to 31st March 2025, it is 120 days it should classify, and after 31st March 2026, it can consider the 90 days to consider the asset as NPA.
Okay.
And here the PQR Housing Finance Limited has considered directly 90 to 180 days, not complying the 120 and 150 criteria.
Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Very good. So in this case, now the question comes is that criteria that you are telling about the glide path was applicable to middle this particular base layer. Okay. Remember when we discussed about the glide path, we discussed about that the glide path was applicable to the base layer.
Yes, sir.
Because the NPA criteria for the middle layer was 90 days from the start itself. So for the base layer, the NPA was a glide path. There was a glide path. But for the middle layer, it is 90 days. Now the question comes is whether this entity is a base layer entity or a middle layer entity. So this particular entity here is a base layer or middle layer. Someone would say that it's not given in the question. It is given. Okay, just read the name of the company. You will get whether it's a base layer or middle layer. Okay, I'll tell you. So the name of company is PQR Housing Finance Limited. Yes, The company is kind of housing finance company. Yes or no? So the company is a housing finance company. Now, if I go to the layer classification, remember we discussed about which entity falls under which layer. Over there, I told you that housing finance companies, HFCs, they fall under the category of middle layer. Yes or no? Housing finance companies, they are in the category of the middle layer. Now, if this company is into the category of middle layer, I will not apply glide path. I will apply direct 90-day NPA norm. Because that is the scale-based regulation says that, okay, base layer was having 180 days. Now they have to adjust it for the glide path. But middle layer from day one, it was 90 days. There is no exemption given to middle layer, like, glide path and everything. So this and this both have to be NPA. Because NPA is beyond 90 days. They are overdue by more than 90 days in this category. So directly they will become NPA. Yes or no?
Yes sir, actually यानी जब आंसर नहीं दे रहे थे तो दिमाग में यही क्वेश्चन था, बट you have asked about glide path, start speaking about it.
See, there
Sir,
might be.
actually, question में भी लिख रखा है provide glide path. So we thought about the glide path.
So it is like, considering the revised NPA classification norm and provided glide path in the regulation. So what will happen is, yes, it might be there in the question, but you have to see whether that is applicable or not.
सर एक्चुअली एप्लीकेबिलिटी के बारे में ही सोच रहे थे, लेकिन लास्ट में जब आप आंसर देने लगे तो फिर दिमाग में जो आया वही बोल दिया.
Yes. So what you need to do is always go step by step. First, understand NPA classification. Okay, no. Now it's an NBFC, scale-based regulation. Which scale it is? Base layer, middle layer. Then I'll go to the next step of the classification, NPA. But first I need to understand which layer it is. And that is till 26. After 26, this classification even will, like for NPA will not be relevant because glide path will be over for both of them. Everything will be at 90. So till 26, we have to consider which layer it is, and then if I decide the layer, then I need to go the NPA classification 90 days or 120 days or whatever it is. Clear with this? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. If no doubt, let's expand this question. I will expand this question. Okay, and I'll add a few more details so that we can discuss more on the NBFC side. So let's say this is the total NPA 50, 20, 70 CR. 90 to 180 days and more than 180 days. I'll pick up more than 180 days as of now. Let's say the more than 180 days of 20 CR is divided into certain buckets. Okay, that is overdue days and the amount. Okay, let's say from the overdue between 180 days to 365 days is your out of 20 CR you have 5 CR. Okay, then let's say I will skip some categories over here. I'll directly pick up the next category. Okay, I'll pick up the 720 days to, let's say, 1065 days. Let's say you have another 10 CR. and beyond 1065, you have next 5 CR. Just let me do a quick check. Sorry, 1085, my mistake. 1085. Okay, and beyond 1085 you have 5 CR. Now based on this, tell me what will be the classification of the asset. So you have this overdue days. Now you need to do the classification of asset. Not NPA, but actual classification that is required to be done. Come on, guys. Very good, Kirti. Very good, Kirti. Come on, guys. Classification. No? Okay, I'll tell you. See, now I have to do NPA classification. I will again go back and refer to the classification that was there for the middle layer. Okay. So middle layer classification was pretty straightforward. There was nothing difficult in that. If I say it's in substandard asset, okay, it is still 12 months. It is in substandard category. And beyond 12 months, it will become a doubtful. And doubtful is 1 to 2, up to 1 year, 1 to 3 years, and beyond 3 years. Now let's go back over here. This is overdue, not the just 12 months from the date it become NPA. There's a difference between 12 months from the date it become NPA or from the day it is overdue. So here it is more than 180 days, okay, and less than 365 days. So if I just remove the 90 days period, let's say assume everything is 365, and if I remove the 90-day period of NPA, still it is coming under the category of 275 days. And that's why I will classify this as a substandard asset. Because none of the asset in this category will exceed 275 days. Now coming to these two categories. Over here, this category is beyond your 1 year or 12 months time limit of becoming NPA. So let's take 720. Okay. If I deduct 720 minus 90-day NPA criteria, still it is 630 days, which is beyond 12 months. So over here, it will be doubtful. Now, the question comes is doubtful on which category? Okay. Doubtful on which category? So it is more than, again, as I said, 630 days. So more than 1 year. So it may go to 1 to 3 years. Now over here, again, this could be, if I say less than 3 years, if I give a number over here, let's say 2000 days or something like that, then again, it will fall under the category of doubtful of 1 to 3 years. Okay. Sorry, not my mistake, not 2000, just a minute. So beyond 185 days, 1085 days, some portion will go to 1 to 3 years, but majority of the portion then after 1095 days, it may go to your 3 years bucket. So it will also go to doubtful 3 years. If something is there till 1095 days, then it will be there. Otherwise, it will be more than 3 years. So this is how classification will be done. Clear with this? Any doubt? Any doubt with the classification? Did you understood the classification how we did? Like I'm taking the day it becomes an NPA, and then from there I need to check substandard and doubtful. Doubtful for 1 to 3 years and beyond 3 years. Based on my day, it become NPA. So here, in all the cases, I need to minus. I have to deduct 90 days. From that day, it became NPA, and then from there, I need to calculate 1 to 3 years, not from the day when it became overdue. So that is the difference when you do the classification and when you calculate whether it's a substandard asset, it's a doubtful asset, or it's something else. Yes or no? Any doubt to this one? Any doubt, guys? Okay, now quickly tell me the rates that are there for the provision for these category. Substandard, doubtful 1 to 3 years, and doubtful for 3 years. What are the rate of provision? A quick recap of that revision. If you guys are fine, then what is the rate for provisioning in case of substandard and for doubtful? Substandard 10%. Yes, Manish, very good. Substandard 10%. Yes, Ginny. Yes, Kirti. Very good. What about doubtful 1 to 3 years?
20, 30, 50, 100.
Okay. 20, 30, 100. Anyone else? Very good, Manish. Very good, Kirti. Ginny, no. Actually, that is...
No, sir, it is written by mistake, actually.
Okay, so the rates are simple. Again, substandard 10% general. But when it comes to doubtful, I have to divide into categories: secured, unsecured. For secured, 20, 30, 50. But for unsecured, directly 100. So it is 20, 30, 50. And for unsecured, 100%. So based on my security level, I would provide the provision over here. Yes or no? Good. Okay. So is this clear with you? The classification, the provisioning, and the reporting part in case of an NBFC? Any doubt with respect to that? Any doubt? Okay. If no further doubt, then let's proceed to the next chapter. I will start the next chapter also. Reason because I actually want to set up the base for the next chapter, that what we are going to discuss in that. Okay, there is one question. So is it favorable to have more liquid asset for the NBFC? See, liquid asset for the NBFC is just like a double-edged sword. I'll tell you why. You can keep as much as liquid assets as you want. Like beyond a minimum requirement, you can keep more. That is not an issue. But the more liquidity you will keep, the lesser lending capacity you will have. Okay. So what happens in an NBFC is your income is based on the exposure, or like, the loans you provide, the lending you do. Now, the more liquidity you will keep, the lesser lending you will do. At the end, you have accepted deposits where you have to pay the amount. So the liquidity that you have gathered can be either your, the income that you have earned, or the lend or the deposit that you have accepted. If the liquidity is on the deposit that you have accepted, then it might be an issue, because on one hand you are paying the amount or the liquidity, interest on that liquidity in case of your deposits, but you are not lending that funds, so you are not generating any income on that, and that will be a very big issue. So it's not that much simple, like whether it's favorable to have more liquid asset for NBFC or not, because at the end you have to maintain profitability also, or like proper cash flow to channelize that amount. I hope I'm clear. Okay. Any further doubt, guys? Any further doubt? No? Okay. If no further doubt, we will start with discussion on the chapter number 15. Now, I just want to set up some base over here with respect to chapter number 15. Okay. It's an audit of public sector undertaking. Now, the question here is, when I talk about audit of public sector undertaking, okay, what first, like, okay, if I ask you that how do you carry the audit of public sector undertaking? So what first thing comes in your mind? If I ask you that how do you carry on the audit of public sector undertaking, okay, what first thing comes in your mind? Yes, government company, very good. You are doing an audit of a government company. CNAG, yes. Now, see, first of all, public sector undertaking. Before we go on to the audit of public sector undertaking, we need to understand what is the public sector undertaking. Without understanding this particular term, I cannot proceed further. So if I talk about this particular term, public sector undertaking, what do you mean by public sector undertaking? Government company, yes, but very good, Manish. You have given good examples of public sector undertaking. But can you give me specific, some more examples of some categories under which the public sector undertaking can be classified? Do you think of some categories where I can classify public sector undertaking? Okay, public sector undertakings can be this category, can be this category, or this category. Okay, no issues, I will tell you. So, not the industry-based classification, Katie, but classification, when I say, it can be type or structure of that public sector undertaking. Okay. For example, it can be a company under Companies Act. Yes or no? It can be a company under Companies Act. Yes, very good. But what about LIC, SBI? Are these companies under Companies Act? No.
No.
Yes or no?
No.
So they are set up under specific act. Yes, Manish. So they have a specific act under which they are set up. So PSU can be specific act based also. Corporation set up under specific act. Now, again, one more example. Railway. Is it set up under Special Act? Indian Railway. Is it company registered under Companies Act? No. It is not under set up under Special Act, not a company registered under Companies Act. Then under which category do I classify this? Railway, postal. There are numerous other departments, municipal corporations. In that case, these are not companies or specific act-based corporations. These are departments. We call them departments or undertakings of the government. They are kind of departments or government bodies, or you can say statutory bodies, okay, of the government and its instrumentalities, or something like that, you can say. Okay, so basically these three, all the three will fall under the category of PSU. For me, LIC is also PSU, which is set up under specific act. For me, Indian Railway is also PSU. For me, company under Companies Act, any company where government has a 50% or more holding, it's also a PSU. Okay, so all these are PSUs where the government is involved into it. Yes, Manish, you can say that. Now, I understood what is PSU, the categorization of PSU. Fine, that I understood. Now, coming to the point where I'm talking about audit of public sector undertaking. So, if I have to audit company under Companies Act, what is the relevant section or the provision under the Companies Act with respect to audit? Quickly, guys. What is the relevant provision under Companies Act with respect to the audit? Okay, under which particular section do you report as an auditor? No? It's basic. Very good, Monica. So that under section, no, Kirti, under section 143, 123, you report on certain matters. 143.12 is a fraud reporting. So 143.1 to 143.3, these are the two sections where you report. Okay. Now, which is a section which requires the audit requirement? From which section the audit requirement comes under Companies Act? Can anyone tell me? Which particular section under Companies Act basically requires the audit? Basic section. Come on, guys.
So section 139 to 148.
139 to 148 basically are the appointment and audit and audit management sections, but that is not the section which says that books of accounts are required to be get audited. Which section actually requires you to that okay, you should get your accounts audited? We have seen that. No? Section 129. Do you remember at the time of consolidation also we saw that 129.3 requires basically, in the case of consolidation, we saw that, like 129.4, that in case of an holding company, the provisions of preparation, adoption, and audit of financial statement apply to the holding company in a similar manner it applied to the financial statements of the individual. Yes or no?
Sir.
So 129 is a base section where the requirement comes. Now, again, like that means you have a certain provision. The point here is you have a certain provision under Companies Act which requires you to get your account audited. Okay, which requires companies to get their accounts audited. So I would say section 129 or where you have 143 reporting section. Okay, I'll consider both. Perfectly fine. In case of LIC or SBI, what is the section for the audit? You might not know because there is a requirement, specific requirement in that particular act. So we need to go check and refer to the section that okay, which is the section which requires LIC to get their accounts audited. Okay, I might also not know because I need to refer to the act, and then there might be a specific requirement under the act for the audit of accounts. Okay, might not be there. For example, there are sections with respect to 24A to 25 in the LIC Act. So I know some of the sections over there. Okay, so 24A is there for the books of accounts. 25 section 25 is there for the appointment of auditors. So there are certain sections in those specific act. Okay, but what about railway? What about postal? Where is the auditing requirement for that?
सर
So
कैग अपॉइंट करता है ना वहाँ पे, तो कंट्रोल ऑडिटर ऑफ जनरल ऑडिटर कैग अपॉइंट करता है डिपार्टमेंट्स में जो गवर्नमेंट के डिपार्टमेंट्स होते हैं.
But where it is written, like Comptroller and Audit General, about Comptroller and Audit General, where it is written? Like he has to appoint auditors.
सर अगर कहीं कुछ भी नहीं है तो आई थिंक इट इज डन बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया.
Yes. Now you are going to the point. So these departments and the government instrumentalities are set up under the Constitution of India. Over there you have article 148 to 151. Article 148 to 151, which talks about CNAG and its roles. So it doesn't say that okay, these departments have to get their account audited, but it talks about CNAG's appointment, okay, and other conditions. 148 talks about appointment of CNAG. 149 talks about that CNAG will perform such duties and such powers in relation to the accounts of unions, states, and other authorities. And there is a CNAG Duties, Powers, and Conditions Service Act to describe the powers of CNAG in detail under Article 149, which is under Article 149 of Indian Constitution. Then Article 150 is there. Article 151, which talks about audit reports of CNAG, should be submitted to the President and Governor of the state, and then it should be submitted to the Parliament. Okay, so there are these articles of the Indian Constitution which specify the audit requirement. And why we are learning this? Reason because tomorrow, if you are involved in an audit of an PSU, first of all, you need to understand from where the requirement is coming. Why we are doing this? Where is the base requirement and from where it is coming, so that you can understand the laws and regulations of the requirements that are applicable to an audit. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, I will tell you, okay, let's say in an audit of a Companies Act, what we do is we check the compliance with the Companies Act, basically like, whatever sections and provisions are there. If it's a listed company, then we do the check compliance with the SEBI LODR regulations. In a case of specific act, we do check compliance with that particular act or any other regulations, rules prescribed under that particular act. Okay. In case of Railway Postal Department, the audit is not carried out the way we see in Companies Act or specific act audit. So it's not about statutory audit. So when we'll see the audit for the Railway Postal Departments, we will see multiple type of audits. So now our audit will we will expand the horizon of the audit when it comes to the audit of specific public sector undertaking. Okay, we will see different type of audits that are being carried. We will see what is the performance audit. We will see what is in financial audit, what is in combined audit that is being done, how they are done, what is the procedure to do those audits, and a lot of things we will see. But just to give you a summary, how many of you have actually seen CNAG's audit report? How many of you have actually seen CNAG's audit report? Anyone? No? Okay. Okay, no issues. I will show you CNAG's audit report. Okay, random audit report. I'll not, basically show you, like any specific. Again, it's a publicly available data. It's not something like that. You might be like it's in confidential, or you will not be able to find on the internet. It's publicly available data, so it's available over there. Okay, so randomly picked one. This is the report, basically report of the Comptroller and Audit General of India for the year, and it is, yes, it's correct. And this is for the compliance audit. Now this is important, the type of audit. Do not focus on the name and like where it is, but it is a compliance audit with respect to civil matters. Okay, and if I go beyond to understand, so a lot of things are given over here. Like you will find that how the audit is done, about this report, significance of audit observations are given. Okay, what is the audit observations? A lot of things are given in this. Okay, in this report, I'll not go into the detail as of now, but this is one particular audit report, CNAGs. Same way we have, this is compliance audit report. Same way we have performance audit report. Okay, now this is one of the type of compliance audit. This is one of the type of the audit that we are seeing. Another is a performance audit. One is compliance, one is performance, one is financial audit. We will see these type of audits. We will understand what are these. Okay, and for that I would request everyone to read the chapter in detail. Okay, so that when I'm discussing in detail each type of audit, at that time you should be aware about what this audit is. At least you have read once. Then only you will be able to understand. Okay, I'll show you one more audit report so that you guys can understand. Just a minute. This is again audit report, but this is the performance audit report. Okay, now this is performance audit report of public health infrastructure and management of health services. Now you will ask us, sir, this is not a department, then how we are doing performance audit? Why this is the audit of PSU? Because this is not basically any department or anything. This is just a service, like particular public health infrastructure and management of health service activity. Yes, That is the thing that we need to understand, that when we will talk about performance audit, when we will talk about compliance audit, we may go beyond the departments. We may perform audits of something like, you can say, a particular activity, a particular program, basically a particular what do you say, like some scheme, some services that are there. Yes, that can be there. Okay, so that we will see when it comes to the audit of PSU, that we might have some subject matter specific audits. In case of a performance audit, we might have something specific audit, like we will be examining the performance of government organization, program, activity, function, a lot. It can be various different things. Now if I just show you some more here, a lot of things are there in this report, but what I just want to show you is this part, audit methodology. Yeah, audit objectives, that what were the objectives of the audit. Okay, objectives of the performance audit. So they specify what are the objectives of the performance audit, what were the objectives of the overall audit, scope and methodology of the audit methodology adopted, like what methodology they have adopted. Okay, and then audit criteria. We will read about these things. What are these things? So when we were doing the audit of a company, what was our audit criteria? Subject matter criteria. What was your criteria when you were doing the audit of a company under Companies Act? Come on, guys, it should be easy. We have discussed multiple times. When you were doing the audit under Companies Act, what was the criteria that you were evaluating, against which you are evaluating the subject matter? Anyone? Okay. This is not good basically if you are not aware about this, but I'll show you, no issues. So let's go back to the audit report of the companies and understand the criteria. What is audit criteria? This is the starting point of the audit. I'll go back to the top of the audit report. And in your opinion paragraph, you will get your criteria. Okay. In our opinion, to the best of our information and according to the explanation given to us, the aforesaid financial statement. Okay. Now this is your subject matter. Okay. The financial statements are your subject matter. Then give information required by the Banking Regulation Act, Companies Act, and the circular guidelines issued by the Reserve Bank of India. So in the manner required for the banking companies, give a true and fair view in conformity with the accounting principles or accounting standard prescribed under section 133 and companies accounting standard rules and everything. So the Banking Regulation Act, Companies Act is your criteria against which you are evaluating your subject matter. These accounting standards, the applicable financial reporting framework. You are evaluating your financial statements based on the criteria. The criteria is your financial reporting framework, your regulations, act that is there. Against that, you are evaluating your subject matter. That is the financial statements. Whether financial statements are or they do comply with your standards, your act, your requirements under the Companies Act. Yes or no? That is your audit criteria that you evaluate. Same way, when we'll see the performance audit, we will understand what is audit criteria against which we are evaluating the subject matter. We will understand the difference between these three audits. Like, one will be this compliance audit, one will be your performance audit, one will be your comprehensive audit, one will be financial audit, how these audits are carried out, what is the overall structure of these audits. Okay, general principles, how do we perform, how do we plan these audits. Now see, when it comes to the audit, again, the basic concepts will not be different. Okay, the concepts of the audit will remain same that you have read, that you have studied till now. But only the way, remember we were seeing when it was reviewed that, okay, the concepts were there, but we were tweaking a bit to apply it to a particular category of audit or a particular category of engagement. Same way, when we were doing our understanding other assurance engagements, we were applying the same concepts, but in a different way. So in a similar line, the concepts will be those only that we have studied, but the application will be slightly different. Okay. Any doubt till now? This is just an introduction that I'm giving to you to make you understand what is the government audit, what is the PSU audit. Yes or no?
ऑडिट और कंप्लायंस ऑडिट का कोई फ्रेमवर्क डिसाइडेड है या गिवन है जिसके अकॉर्डिंग हमें स्टेप्स फॉलो करने हैं. रीजन बीइंग कि परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट जहां तक मुझे अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो रही है इसको वर्ड को भी सुन के और जहां मुझे नॉलेज है कि इफेक्टिवनेस एंड एफिशिएंसी चेक करते हैं फॉर पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम की. और
यस,
कंप्लायंसेस ऑडिट लॉ के और रूल्स के अकॉर्डिंग उसमें कोई डिपार्टमेंट ने कुछ इरेगुलरिटीज फॉलो की है तो वो उसकी कंप्लायंसेस होती है. तो और फाइनेंशियल ओवरऑल फाइनेंशियल का ऑडिट होता है एंड कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव मतलब कि सब पूरा और ओवरऑल इफेक्टिवनेस चेक होती है.
yes, absolutely correct. Yes, but we will read something more in this. Like when you say performance audit, we talk about efficiency. Yes, you are correct. We talk about efficiency and effectiveness. We do that. When we say compliance audit, we individually assess the given subject matter with respect to the applicable criteria, with respect to the regularity and propriety of that particular matter that is there. Yes, and financial, as you said, and the comprehensive is combine everything. Those are correct. But the point is to understand when it comes to the performance audit, when it comes to the compliance audit, how they are different. When it comes to the financial audit, how it is different. Because sometimes you might say, okay, no, we are also seeing in financial audit that these compliances, like application of laws and regulations, then why a different performance audit? So over there, we will understand in detail that what additional thing is being done in the performance compliance, or which differentiates it from a financial audit.
Okay, sir.
But you are right on the correct track. Any further doubt, guys? Any further doubt on this one? Okay, so for the next lecture, what I want you guys to do is read the chapter 15 thoroughly. Okay, go and see some reports of the CNG audit reports. Okay, reason because these reports will give you somewhat clarity that we are going to discuss. I will be taking a lot of references from this report. I will show you a lot of different materials also that are available on public domain to make you explain these audit concepts. But again, I would request you to go and read this CNAG audit reports. Okay, if you have time, read it once, not everything in thoroughly, just first and second part of the report, not beyond that. Okay. And then study material is the first priority that I want you to read. Go read in detail the study material, chapter number 15, so that when I'm discussing in the next chapter lecture about audit of public sector undertaking, you are pretty much aware what I'm discussing, what is given in the study material where, and you can ask your doubts also. Okay, so reading is important, and practice of chapter number 14, you have to do a lot of practice and bring up your doubts about the audit of NBFC and audit of bank. If you have any doubt, we can clear it out. Okay, so you have to practice a lot. It's not like that, okay, you have attended the lectures, it is done. No, now your work start is practicing. Solve as many questions as you can. If you have doubt with respect to some of the questions, if you are facing any difficulty in understanding any of the question, bring it here. Happy to discuss, happy to clear out the doubts. Okay, but efforts from your side are also required. I hope I am clear.
Yes sir. Sir, request है वो एक बार YouTube का चार lecture देख लीजिएगा.
Let me check that one. Yes. One doubt is there regarding the audit of banks. What is DDRR account in case of housekeeping? Can you just let me know where it is written or where specific you are referring to, so that I can tell you. Page 14.65. Just a minute. Let me go to that particular page. $14.65. Okay. Give me a minute. 65. Okay, on page number 14.65, I'm on 14.65. Specifically, where you are seeing on 14.65, where any specific? Acha, unit 1, unit 2. Wait a minute. Okay. Let me do a search. Let me do a quick search. Okay, yeah. Early reconciliations are entry outstanding in the interbranch, interbank account, suspense account, sundry deposit account, DDR accounts, drafts account. Okay, so you can say this DDR accounts basically, what you can say, these are the specific accounts, you can say, that the bank have. Okay, and they are required to maintain in special scenarios. So it's a very specific account, I would say, in specific scenarios that is being maintained by the banks. Not that much specific, I would say, you to go in this. But the point here it talks about is the early reconciliations. Okay, early reconciliations basically talks about that. Okay, you have to perform early reconciliations so that you can identify any outstanding amount. Hope I'm clear. Any further doubts? Any further doubt, guys? Okay, if no doubt, what I propose is let's keep that session till here. Okay, in the next session, I will start again, chapter number 15 in much more detail. We will go through each and every topic. Okay, and for that, please do the reading as I discussed. Okay, so please do the reading and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you, guys. Thank you for participating in today's session. I'll see you in next session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.